Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever this podcast may find you. It is I, as always, Gavin.
And I, Justin.
And look at that, we're back.
We're back as normal again.
We'll see how long we can do this for. But I just got back from the desert on a work trip with the company that I work for, 230 and Expedition Superstore, and I regale you slightly on that adventure.
Yes,
and we actually talk about like Volkswagens and shit, which we haven't done really.
I
mean, we've done some talking, but not about these Volkswagens in particular. You talk about someone who started to get fucked out of a CTS-V deal.
Fortunately, got it back sort of in pieces.
Luckily, it could have been worse.
Yeah,
and that and more on this episode of the Exhibition of Speed podcast. Well, cool, man. Well, it's been a minute.
It has been a minute. I had Jaden here last week while, you took a week off or not a week off, but you went on a week-long trip.
I took last week off of the podcast due to taking, not taking a week off. I was fucking working.
Exactly.
But yeah, if you don't know the Trona Pinnacles area, it's just easier to tell people the greater Death Valley area.
Yeah.
So funny enough, when Maddie and I went to LA, we went the way that you and I took last time. We got off at Baker.
Mm-hmm.
I keep on I think I will always mix up Baker and Barstow, California, because they're two B's that are in the middle of fucking nowhere in California,
and in a line,
and also sequential.
Yeah.
So I think it's Baker, and so we got off there, and I don't know the highway number, but basically, if you're going to LA, you can circumnavigate it and go out into the Mojave Desert, hook a left, and go south down to Lancaster, and then make your way, get on the 5, and then get into the west end of, the Malibu area.
Yeah.
And Thousand Oaks and all that stuff. We took the same way for the first, if you want to look at it proportionally, probably 70% of the drive was the exact same.
Yeah.
Salt Lake down through, St. George, Vegas, and then so the first night we stayed was in this place called Whitney Pocket.
Mm-hmm.
You and I have talked about Whitney Pocket over our phone calls because we were thinking of an idea for a project. Yeah. And we still are, but it's not going to happen there. But so for those that don't know or who are listening for the first time or whatever, I create content for the greater companies called Grasshopper Trading Co. But they work they would call it working very closely with the company 230, which make rooftop tents. They also have, I don't know if they actually make or if they are branded. I think they make sleeping bags and other gear. They have a sub company called UC Gear that makes little lights that go inside your tent that you can actually, because these tents fold and unfold, these lights are strong enough that you can just leave them in there.
Hell yeah.
You don't have to you can wrap them around the frame rails of the tent, whatever frame rails you want, and the way they collapse and how strong the lights are, you can just open, close, and just leave them in there.
They're effectively permanent fixtures.
They can be, yeah. And completely, modular because you're just wrapping shit around other shit.
Yeah.
And you just get they're USB powered, so you just get a little power bank, you plug them in, and they're LED, so they last a while.
Okay, yeah.
So they don't pull a lot of power. So it's those two companies as well as Expedition Superstore, which itself is a storefront. They are sales. They have 230 tents, and also what's the fucking other one? It's not CVT. It's one of the other major rooftop tent companies. Okay. But they only have one of those.
Yeah.
Just as a comparison of this is what this is compared to the competition.
Yeah.
And so and a storefront for all sorts of stuff. They have suspension parts and brake parts and stows and chairs that are 230 chairs. And they have most of the time they have a rig parked in there, and we took one of those rigs with us on the trip. And I don't know when it's going back because they're doing a whole remodel right now. There's a lot of moving parts with my job right now.
Yeah.
But they had a Gladiator that was wrapped. And Vision does their wraps, by the way.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah. But Gladiator lifted, it was probably on 37s, I think. They weren't crazy 40s. I think they were like 37s. So it was like the typical, like, you know, somewhat aggressive. Because, like, when you see a normal Gladiator, you know, that's fucking toothless. There's no bite to that visually.
No.
So this is, you know, lift, wheels, tires, the camper system in the back. They had a rooftop tent on it, but it didn't have like a normal shell, like a pickup truck shell.
Yeah.
It was more like a frame with Male panels on it.
Okay.
So everything's like pretty modular. That's not the route that I would go personally, but and that's not even the route that the owners would generally go, but they wanted to showcase that off.
Yeah.
And so that was one of the rigs. We went down with like 4 rigs, and we met up with someone else down there. So Wayne, one of my bosses, was in the Gladiator, named Roxanne.
Nice.
All these vehicles have names. There's a Tacoma that just got done, named Violet.
Mm-hmm.
Not because it was a voodoo blue, even though it is, but named after Violet Beauregard from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Yep.
Because she just gets everything she wants.
That's funny.
Yeah. That just got an Alu-Cab canopy camper, and basically all the bells and whistles, like, you know, 13-gallon tank. There's a propane heater, solar panels. It was a canopy camper, so the top popped off itself, and then there's a panel that you open up and you get to the top, then you sleep there. I was told that it was about a $40,000 camper. So you're doubling the price of this taco.
That's crazy.
Almost.
That's crazy.
Yeah, thinking about like an $85,000 Tacoma is like ridiculous. And that had like suspension and shit too, because like the canopy camper, even though it's made of aluminum, it was still like another 600 pounds.
Yeah.
On top of like normal suspension stuff, so they had to beef that up. I was in a Subaru Crosstrek, which is actually I jumped ahead. My main boss, also named Justin, he was in what was called Ram Chop, which was this Ram 2500 single axle. You
mean so single wheels, not dually wheels,
right?
Because it's obviously single axle, not double.
Yeah, it's one axle, but yeah. I'm trying to remember actually if it had, and the reason why it's more difficult to remember is because they took the bed off, and they did this whole this camper, like full on camper treatment. Like it had water, had a shower in there, stove, bed, fridge,
so that's
toilet,
just complete removal of bed, and install this.
Yeah.
Custom camper on the frame.
Exactly. I'm searching through my phone right now, and trying to. I know this makes for terrible radio, and I always mention that when we do something like this. I sent you a picture, but I'm just trying to find. So single wheel.
Single wheel. Yep.
But it's still on 40s, and it makes 40s look small.
Oh, I'm sure.
This thing is fucking massive. I actually have a photo of it next to the Crosstrek.
That's a difference.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, that had 4-wheel campers makes the camper, and they sent it to Colorado they took the bed off first, then sent it to Colorado to get the flatbed treatment, and then they put the camper on top of that.
Gotcha.
Yeah. One of the techs from Expedition Superstore had to go, and they had to pay him to go over and do that. And when I say techs at Expedition Superstore, that's also what they do. They also modify vehicles there too. So on Friday, well, it was like Wednesday, Thursday, and part of Friday, I think. Last week they had a 200 series Land Cruiser there, that burgundy one.
Yeah.
They took the bumpers off, and they had like these bash bar, like, you know, anodized. Well, actually, no, it's probably steel. Front bumper with the winch, and then back bumper, but they weren't full bumpers, so they actually trimmed the original OE bumper to like fill in the gap.
Nice.
Which I think it made for a really clean look. There were guys there like, yeah, no, I go for the fucking full one.
Well, of course. I mean, functionally, yes, technically speaking, but
maybe, but he was saying from an aesthetic perspective, it's like, oh, I'd much rather that, and like, it looks kind of. I think that would be over the top.
I think most of those, anytime I see those full bumper kits on almost any vehicle, especially the really big ones,
yeah, especially on Jeeps,
they don't fit. They're great for function, but they just don't look good, in my opinion. Clearly, he thinks differently.
Yeah. Ben is, and I can drop his name now because actually his last day was on Friday.
Oh boy.
Yeah, he left to go chase a job in Tennessee, so he's dipping.
Gotcha.
He's very my way or the highway, very black and white. I can't really talk to him about anything that I like because he's very, he's one of those guys.
Gotcha.
But anyways, about the trip.
Okay.
So we took Lulu the Subaru, which was a cross-track that was lifted. I think it has like a 1-inch lift with springs and method wheels with, all-terrain tires with a tent on it. But as far as like any other mods are concerned, actually, no, that does have a front bumper too. But it's nothing like that crazy.
Yeah.
And then it had the Walkabout 62 2.0 tent. So it has extra like what they call LST or light suppressing technology, which is basically another layer that has it's not waxed, but it has this other like light suppressing layer to it that like even if it's in the daytime, it's dark as fuck in there.
Nice.
Like you really could sleep in past the sunrise if you like
wanted to.
Not even if you wanted to. Like it would be very easy to do that.
Gotcha.
Unless if you opened up one of the windows on purpose, kind of thing. So there's that. Lulu, Ram Chop, Violet, Roxanne, and then we met up with this guy Andy, who has this website called the Adventure Portal. Who he's from Carlsbad, but he's a Brit, funny enough.
Nice.
And he pulled up with his black 4Runner, and that had like some other tent. It wasn't a 23-0 tent.
Yeah.
But he's a journalist. He has his own website, and he like goes on press launches for stuff, and is one of the more prominent like overland bloggers.
Gotcha.
So he joined us to write about our trip, but the trip didn't exactly go as planned. The plan was to trek through Death Valley.
Yeah.
Like the whole thing. And because of the rainstorms that happened in January that were like, leading up to my trip with Maddie, Death Valley of all places is flooded, which is not exactly what you would think of.
No.
Of all the places to have an abundance of water, a place with the, death in the name is not one that would come to mind.
No.
So that didn't quite go as planned. We stayed in a place the first night called Whitney Pockets, which is, what do we say, like about 40 minutes outside of Mesquite, maybe 30 minutes outside of Mesquite?
Yeah, about a half hour.
Depends on how fast you take the road.
True.
Because the access road to get to Whitney Pockets was at first paved, and then it devolved into gravel. And then there would be some places where there was gravel and some rocks with ruts, sometimes some asphalt would just randomly appear. It's very clearly one of those roads where, like, once a year maybe someone takes like a plow blade over
and just
it,
runs over it lightly.
Not even like a cat track or anything.
Yeah.
So, but the area that we were in, it was like red rock and Joshua trees. It was like this really like cool like combination of the two, and we were kind of backed up against like this rock wall.
Yeah.
And we got there at night because leaving Salt Lake was delayed for various reasons. And so by the time we get there, it's nighttime. Justin in Ram Chop was blasting on this road. This is a road that, yes, it's gravelly and like, some pavement in some places, but it was like whoopty. Like it was like, imagine a sine wave on a piece of paper, and like that's basically what it was.
Nice.
At some places, like they were yumps. If you really wanted to make them yumps. I was falling behind with a moving average of 45, 50.
Yeah.
And they were like walking away from me. When I say they, I mean Justin and Ram Chop and Brett, one of the managers at Expedition Superstore. He was in Violet. And so like those two were like fucking off or whatever.
Yeah.
But I was still having an amazing time. I had the light bar going up front with the pod lights on the hood, cranking Tom Petty. It's pitch black outside, going up over yumps and pitching this car into corners. It was so much fucking fun.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I'm starting to understand rally driving now. This is fucking sick.
Especially in the dark. Like there's
in the dark on a road I've never been on before. I don't know where the fuck we're going.
Yeah.
So the last thing I want to do is, be on the ass of somebody else.
Exactly.
So I kind of wanted to give them space and kind of, drive as I normally drive, say, in the canyons, where I drive as fast as I can see.
Yep.
So if I'm like, oh, that's really like a hairpin corner, I'm going to go through it at 30, which might be a little quick by some people's standards, but
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, they clearly had a good time, so I'm
might as well.
I'm chasing after him kind of thing.
Using all like 130 horsepower that you can.
No, those are like 180.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It felt like the ones I've driven felt a little less.
Oh, they are very slow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I feel like the van from the flower shop, even though that does have 130 horsepower, is better paired with its CVT than Subaru's 180 horsepower is compared to that CVT.
Because the Subaru was also CVT, right?
Basically all of those, with a few exceptions being manuals, are all CVT.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I don't know what the Outback is. Outback's a CVT now, isn't it?
I think so. I think Subaru's mostly CVT at this point.
With the WRX, and the BRZ's an auto.
Yes.
It's an actual auto or manual. It's WRX, BRZ, and then some Crosstreks are manual.
Yep.
But I don't think you can get a Forester in a manual anymore.
I don't think so, no.
Can you get an Impreza in a manual? They just dropped a new Impreza.
They did. That would be a fantastic question for the Google machine.
Yeah. While you search that, I'll keep going on about my story. We stayed overnight in Whitney Pockets. Like I said, by the time we got there, it was pitch black. But when we got there, we were able to use our headlamps to set up camp and all that. Set up our tents. It was the very first time I set up a rooftop tent. And after everything was all said and done with setup, we just turned our headlamps off. And it was a full moon the night before that, so the moon was still pretty big, and there was no cloud coverage at all. So it was just a clear night. We were able to even go on a hike if you wanted to. Wayne took a little walk of his own. And, it was like such a serene moment being that far away, what felt like that far away from people, while also being able to see the glow of Las Vegas on the other side of this mountain, which was pretty crazy. So, have you pulled up anything?
So, 2023, the base Imprezas, both the 5-door and the 4-door, are available with manual.
Good.
But this doesn't look like the new one they came out with. Let me pull this over to you. So, this looks like the current model, not the new one, correct? I guess the new one might be a 2024.
Check and make sure that, I think that's the outgoing one.
Okay, let's search.
Companies like Subaru and Ford will sometimes not be super on top of it with their websites. I know they aren't with the Mustang.
Yeah.
If you search the Mustang on Ford's website, it's the outgoing S550 facelift.
Yeah, so it looks like the new one is the 2024. So, yeah that's the new one.
Yeah. I'd be shocked if they have a manual version.
I would be too. I know that the outgoing one does. That's clearly a CVT.
Yeah, but they wouldn't show a base. I mean, it would only be a base. Can you configure one?
It doesn't have a configure thing. The only thing it had at the top was a put in email here for more updates.
Sure.
Eyesight's
great, by the way.
Yeah.
I do. I mean, the lane keep assist part of Eyesight is ass. Like with most lane keep assists, even on a straight road. Because trust me, we had a lot of those.
Yeah.
Straight road, clear fucking daylight, clear indicated lines, and it would still ping pong back and forth.
It's amazing how many people don't get that right. Like it's
yeah,
even bigger, more expensive companies than Subaru.
Yeah, and companies are so like they have their mind so set on like what's actually going to be a more useful technology.
Yep.
That they kind of, I think, just slapstick together lane keep and just moved on to the next thing.
Oh yeah, no, I completely agree. Yeah, scrolling back through here, I've been reading just like each little bit, and
that's cool that they brought that. They're bringing the RS nameplate back.
They are, yeah, yeah. So that's none of them mention transmission. In fact, I'm going to just double check. Yeah, transmission's not even mentioned on the webpage.
Search manual.
Nope. No. What about CVT? Nope. Well, so transmission's not mentioned whatsoever on the whole page.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they just completely killed the manual in that. But it's not. I don't know. I mean, I feel the same way about Imprezas, same way as I do about Corollas, same way as I do. Civic is, I think, different because they actually have a history of making good gearboxes.
Yep.
But I kind of don't care if they kill the manual off in something base like that. I kind of don't give a shit.
Same here. I mean,
it is because this is the appliance and the econo box for Subaru, just like how the Corolla is for Toyota, and how the Civic is for Honda.
They have literally zero incentive to make it a good manual. None.
Or just a manual in general.
Yeah.
I mean, Honda has incentive because not just journalists, but enthusiasts and people that have driven their cars over the years, especially the ones from, say, the mid to late 90s and into the early 2000s, had really great 6-speeds. I mean, and also if you look at the NSX, if you look at the S2000, the S2000 is heralded still, and you need to fucking drive one.
I do.
As one of the greatest 6-speeds ever made by anybody ever. So Honda has an incentive to do that and keep it around for their Type R and for the SI. But as far as like Subaru doesn't have a history of making great 5 or 6 speeds. Actually, they're notoriously shitty 5 speeds.
Yeah, your Forester.
No, not my Forester, but in like WRXs.
Oh yeah, I've driven one of those, but it's been so long I can't remember.
Well, do you remember Christian?
Yeah.
He had a Hawkeye WRX.
Okay.
And he went through 2 gearboxes in the short amount of time that he had. And the reason why he started to get into Volkswagen is because I dragged him along in a Mark 6 GTI that had DSG.
Gotcha.
It was a KO4 swap Mark 6. And he was like, oh, no, this is it. This is the game changer. And then he bought his Volkswagen and did what any other Volkswagen Audi fanboy did and just started going down
more Volkswagen rabbit holes.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of my issue. There's, the Volkswagen bros, the VW Audi bros, Subaru guys, Honda guys, like a lot of them, once they start to go down that, it's hard to like pull them out.
Yep.
And
those, like especially those brands you just mentioned, have probably some of the more notorious amounts of that, where when somebody goes down the Subaru life, like you notice, even a regular person, not like car person, they just stick with it.
Oh, look, my parents have been owning and driving Subaru since the early 90s.
Same with Honda people. Like a lot of people will just get the newest Honda Civic every single time.
Sure.
Even if they're not an enthusiast, or if they're an enthusiast, they get an SI or a Type R.
And they generally do that because they don't want to spend a lot of money. They don't want to really think about driving. And as far as like for my parents, they don't really want to think that much about driving, but they swear by Subaru symmetrical all-wheel drive, which I also agree. I think it's a solid all-wheel drive system.
Oh yeah.
But they just they want a worry-free, stress-free, driving.
Especially where they live.
Yeah, living up in Park City and having to traverse Parley's Canyon all the time.
Yeah.
So,
no, I agree. I think that Honda has more of a reason to keep a manual around. Effectively, at this point, naturally, as always, us here in the United States tend to both get shit on with like special models, but also seem to have this weird habit of dictating things going forward. Like we started to dictate the crossover craze that's now...
Well, manuals dying, period, first, and then crossovers. Yep. SUVs had already become a really big thing.
Yep.
I mean, the Cayenne saved Porsche. People say the 986 Boxster did, and I think there's some merit to that, but I think the Cayenne probably did more to save them.
And we've ended up dictating a lot of these things, and like I'll see a lot of, still 50% of like European drivers own a manual, but that's down from like 80%.
True.
Just 10 years ago.
True.
So, like, it clearly is dying, not just here.
Speaking of cool shit that we don't get, you know what we are getting?
What?
Did you hear? This information just dropped this week. We're getting the new 5 Series in a wagon.
I did see that.
It's like it's going to be a hybrid, but it's going to make over like 700 horsepower.
Okay, do you know what the name of it is?
It's the M5 Touring.
M5 Touring. Oh, yeah, duh. I forgot that they name all their stuff Touring.
Yeah.
Next, BMW.
Yeah, 735 horsepower. I don't think it's going to look like that. I think so. We're looking at a Car and Driver article by George Katcher, published. It was this week, February 16th, 2023. Codenamed G90 chassis. But yes, supposedly going to be probably a twin turbo 6 with hybrid.
Let's see.
XM SUV is where it steals its powertrain from.
I'm gonna guess
G99 apparently is going to be the. It has an EV range of 60 miles with a maximum speed of 87 miles an hour in EV mode. That's interesting.
That's similar to
0 to 60 in 2.8?
Yes. So that's what they managed with the regular M5 competition.
Yeah. So it might be like a 2.9 or something.
Yeah, but still, I mean, that's fucking fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of these are just like renders and stuff like that.
Yeah, I doubt that that's going to be it because this says illustration by Christian Schultz, whoever that is.
Oh, so it's the V8. If it's based...
There might. They're talking about mites. I don't think it's gonna have that.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Wait. Whoa.
That's the i5M. So that's different. So
could have more than 1,000 horsepower though.
Jesus. I mean, granted, this is electrical because this is their i series. So
sure,
that's not difficult or crazy.
The only companies that have EVs that are over 1,000 horse is Lucid and Tesla.
True,
because the Plaid is like what?
It's like 1,010 or something like that.
It's not like just creeping over 1,000.
And then the Lucid, that Sapphire that they tested, and the drag was like 1,100.
It was like I think it was all ones. It was 11.
Yeah, and so they're just barely over that. I mean, i5M. I'm kind of curious what that would look like if there's even like renderings or anything like that. Nope. It's a bunch of, apparently i5M is also the name for a mixing board. So that must just be like,
well, if you type in BMW i5M.
True. And so these, okay. Yeah, so it's literally just a 5 Series with a filled-in grille.
Yeah.
But
I mean, if that is what it actually is going to be. I mean, so much of this is... Also, we are really in the weeds here. I started talking about my trip to Death Valley.
And then we got off on this. No, that wagon looks amazing, though. Like, that just kind of takes what I think is really cool about, like, the current Volvo V60 hybrid wagon, where you can drive at about 50 miles on all electric, and it can do fast acceleration, lots of stuff, and then just turns that up by several more degrees to the M brand.
Sure.
And I'm definitely curious to see how many more of these come out, because we've still got Audi and Mercedes that, at least on their current wagon lineups, have stayed.
And Porsche.
And Porsche.
Porsche has actually added to their lineup because they have the Panamera.
Yep.
And they also have the Taycan, which is a wagon.
Mm-hmm.
Or the Cross. Well, they actually have 2 wagons because they have the... Don't they? Isn't there a lowered version and then there's an Outback version?
Yes, because they have the Cross Turismo.
Yeah, Cross Turismo is the tall one.
Mm-hmm.
Sport Turismo?
Sport Turismo, yep.
And so then they also have Sport Turismo Panamera. So Porsche has 3 wagons, which is weird to think about.
It is a little bit.
They have 3 wagons. BMW is going to have this one, right?
Because we haven't got the 3 Series wagon in a few years now.
Not since like F30, right?
Mm-hmm. And then Mercedes, I know that they pulled from the American market the E63 wagon. Like, I think this model year or last model year, it was right around here.
Did they stop making it?
Or importing it to the States.
Oh, well, they've been doing that for a long time.
Yeah, and
when you say pulled, what do you mean?
Like, it's not for sale here.
Okay. Yeah. So it is. So okay.
Yep. And then Audi at the moment is still selling the RS6 Avant.
Are they still selling it, or are they all sold out? They also have the A6 Allroad. I was about to say Alltrack.
Yeah.
And then they also have the And then they also have the B9 Alltrack too.
Yes.
Or sorry, whatever the fuck. Allroad.
Allroad, yep.
Same shit.
So I mean, I guess it's still listed. Like, clearly they're still making it. The question is if it's available.
Because I thought that was supposed to be a limited thing. That's why like there was so much ADM.
Yeah, it looks like...
I thought there were going to be like 600 or 700 that was going to come, and that was going to be it.
Well, being that I'm seeing mostly like 2023s, but some of these are from like Canada and things like that, I think that might be the case, at least here in the States.
Mm-hmm.
Just because, as per usual, they just know that we have this dead-ass market of people willing to pay stupid prices for things. So cool, we'll drop 1,000 in them. Everybody makes a shit ton of money, and whatever.
Yeah.
So maybe even this is off the table for now. Like, won't be able to order one.
Sure.
But maybe the C8, maybe there could be a C8.5 update that adds some type of hybrid shit like that. Like, if BMW really does drop that, you're going to see other manufacturers try to copycat to some degree.
Mercedes is already, continuing the downsizing of engines, and they're going to have a twin turbo hybrid for the C63.
Yep.
Which is also going to be like 7 or 6, at least over 600 horsepower.
Yeah.
Which is going to be interesting. There is a big topic, a big brain topic that we could go into this about, but I'd like to finish my story.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
So we stayed overnight at Whitney Pockets, going back to the Death Valley thing.
Mm-hmm.
Next morning, we get up and bright and early and head out to the Trona Pinnacles, which is on the south end of Death Valley. It's basically one mountain range over.
Yeah.
And from there, we stayed there for like 3 nights.
Okay.
And it was this like I've actually never been to Goblin Valley.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't had like that kind of like pinnacle-y, rocky experience. But this was like gray desert, middle of fucking nowhere. Could totally film. Actually, they filmed one of the Westworld episodes.
Oh yeah,
out there.
Okay.
Actually, the guy that met us up there, Andy, he showed me personally. He brought me around and like showed me this little alcove. He's like, this is a scene where like one of the portals opens up, and like there's like this finale scene or something like there,
Gotcha.
something like that. So, that's pretty cool. But yeah, super surreal, very otherworldly environment. And we got the whole point of the trip was to go there and shoot content as well. So shoot content for tents and accessories and things that we're trying to sell this year. And then after that, we got up and left. We left Trona Pinnacles and drove north. And we did drive through Death Valley, which was kind of cool to see. We drove through the south end of Death Valley. And got to the lowest point, which is, I think, 182 feet below sea level.
Interesting. Okay.
It's kind of cool because, like, the way the road goes is it's straight, and it hits a dog leg, and like it kind of like bounces you back up. So like when you hit that apex of that dog leg, is like that's the lowest point that you can at least drive on in Death Valley. I think the lowest point in Death Valley is like 280 below, so it's another 100 feet
pretty
lower.
Low.
It's the lowest point in the country.
Yeah.
I've never been so low in my life, Justin.
I know. You just went there.
So, and I'm trying to wrap this up quick, but what happened after that? We kind of, what do we do after that? Oh, there was a place. I don't know if you even Googled it, could find it, but it's called Bonnie Claire. It's a town in Nevada, is what it says. Yeah. So if you look up Bonnie Claire,
I can pull it up there.
Just so we're seeing the same thing.
Yep.
Oh, you're on
Wikipedia,
yeah.
but I can go back.
Yeah, so you see that map to the right?
Mm-hmm.
See that road that turns left?
Yep.
We turned up that road and like went around the backside of like these mountains. And there's like some really cool like abandoned like mine shafts and stuff.
Yeah.
And we actually did some dig. Yeah, so I know I'm gonna be off mic, but
he's showing me things. He's playing Vanna. Or Vanna White. There we go.
Zoom in a little bit to like maybe there.
Okay.
Let that load. We were over here.
Okay.
And there's like some dirt road. This is all BLM land.
Gotcha. Okay, so it's all Bureau of Land Management.
Yeah, not the other one.
Yes.
The people that live here probably don't like that other one.
Probably not.
Pull up. Yeah, so we had like, I think we were backed into like here or something.
Okay, so you're in like crevice of like, clearly this is runoff area and multiple little kind of mini cliff sides and things like that. Yeah.
We had the awesome thing that I've discovered also about overlanding, and this is very much not new, especially to anyone that has literally even thought about overlanding.
Yeah.
But being able to set up camp where you want and then wake up to these amazing views.
Oh, yeah.
Completely remote and desolate from fucking anybody. Sometimes, I mean, I didn't have It's funny. The pocket that we were in at Bonnie Claire, there was no service at our actual camp spot.
Yeah.
But if I walked down the path that that we drove up, it wasn't even really a path. It was just kind of like some worn out ground.
Yeah.
With minimal foliage. But walking down that path for like 5 minutes and I had full service.
Nice.
So I was able to like, text my girlfriend and just check on stuff. But yeah, that was our last night. And then we hightailed it out of there. And and actually, I've been meaning to talk to you about this.
Oh, no.
Because you have told me about the drive from Ely to California is some of the most dull and boring driving.
Mm-hmm.
You're completely full of shit. Because, yes, it was long and straight, but I had for hours, I had panoramic views of these amazing snow-capped mountains.
And I'll correct my statement a little bit. It depends on what you're looking at, because I have been through there and I have seen like the beauty that can happen.
Yeah.
It depends on when.
So I'm going to, on my shit, Bonnie Claire, Nevada to Ely. And honestly, all the shit like north of Ely was garbage.
Yeah.
But everything from like Tonopah.
Yep.
Then if people are listening to this at home or in your car, if you want to bring up Google, just put Bonnie Claire, Nevada. Just Bonnie Claire, Nevada. And then just put in Ely as the destination, and it'll just take you there. Yeah, it took us through Goldfield, which is like this kind of interesting little ghost town. Not ghost town, but just like, run downtown. And then, yeah, right up to Tonopah, and then like, yeah, basically all along the 6 highway, basically from between Tonopah and Lund was just like these awesome, and I got photos on my phone, but like this awesome just panoramic views for hours. And I was expecting it just to end and just be like flat and like nothing. And I was quite pleased that wasn't really my reality.
Okay, I think we might be mixing something up because I have never driven from Ely to Tonopah or Goldenfield or any of that.
Oh, okay. So are you talking about like through what? Like
I'm talking
Crystal
about
Springs?
I'm talking about the standard I-15 route is probably what I was referencing. Just like
I-15 doesn't come anywhere near Ely.
No, I know. I've never been that direction whatsoever.
Oh, so you would have gone like through Delta.
I think that might be what I was referencing. I've just never driven the 50 right there. I've never driven out to Ely. I've never been to Ely. I've never been.
Oh, you've told me that you've done something like that before.
I'll have to think of where.
Or was it Elko?
It might have been Elko.
Ah,
that's what it was.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because I just looked at this. I'm like, wait a minute, I haven't been there.
Yeah. It was really pretty. It was awesome.
Yeah.
And I mix up Elko and Ely a lot too, so
that's
understandable.
Easy.
Yeah, it was great. Gassed up in Ely and then drove home. We just up the 93 to Wendover and drove by the salt flats, which were very flooded.
I heard.
Even more than normal. Because like the thing about the salt flats that most people don't think about, but it's salt. It's not ground. So the water doesn't have anywhere to soak into until it evaporates. So
thus leaving more salt, ironically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I've heard that there from the couple things that I've read, like it's most flooded it's been in like about 10 years.
I believe that.
And they're concerned that it may not dry out this year.
Well, so when did
it was like it had happened
Speed
before.
Week? This happened about 10 years ago. I think from like and please, if you're listening, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought it was around 2012 to 2014 or 15. Those years they skipped Speed Week, and like I think 2015 or 2016 it came back.
I believe so. I'm even gonna pull it up and check because I'm curious. I remember that happening.
It's also weird to think about 2013 being 10 years ago.
Yes. I mean, I'm gonna reverse date myself, but like that was the year I graduated high school. I'm hitting my 10-year anniversary finally.
Well, I'm hitting my 10-year anniversary of getting into automotive media,
which is wild.
Which is nuts to think about.
But I did actually find a little article right here for us to go back into the hybrid thing. Apparently, and this is...
Could we wrap that up? Or could we wrap this other thing up first?
Well, okay, gotcha. I didn't realize we weren't...
I thought you were Googling about salt flats.
Yes. Okay. Bonneville Speed Week.
Justin needs some direction sometimes.
I do. So that was when... So it did get canceled for last year. August of...
No, it wasn't.
I think it might have just gotten rescheduled, but it was
yeah, because people were there.
Yep, let me redo my search.
It got flooded, but it like wasn't. There were probably races that were canceled, but the event itself was still happening.
Event was called off in 2014 and 15 for flooding.
Yep. Okay.
And this past year was it got bumped for the first time in 5 years.
Okay.
To get it more dried out. And it looks like that'll probably happen again this year.
Oh, I'm sure. I'd be shocked if it actually dried up and hardened up enough for people to drive 300 to 600 miles an hour.
Because I heard it was like about 5 to 6 inches of standing water, like a good solid
at
amount.
least. From what I saw on the highway, at least. I thought it was going to be like a foot. But I was also, driving, so it's hard to really tell, especially out there, because, like, it's so flat.
Yeah.
That, like, even, like, 2 inches of water can make it look like a literal ocean.
Yeah, because especially when it goes so far out.
Oh, yeah.
There's just as far as the eye can see.
The last time I was there was January of 2020, and I went out with some friends and took pictures and stuff, and there was, like, it looked like ocean, and there would be, like, a little, like, pocket of, like, non-water, and it would look like its own little actual island.
Actually, here, I've got kind of a little picture I can pull up right there from, oh, come on, there it goes, from KSL. Boop. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Basically almost creates mini islands at the slight high spots.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's wild. But, yeah, we'll see what happens with that. It's always cool, because I went there once. I've been there, like, 5 times total, just randomly. Once was during Speed Week. That was probably the coolest school field trip I ever did.
Oh, yeah.
We went there
sure.
for Auto Tech for Speed Week.
Totally.
And then the other times have just been stop-ins, as I've been like on my way to Wendover or bullshit like that.
Yeah.
Just drive off.
Which is funny because I've never gone to Wendover on purpose. I would much prefer going out to just Bonneville in the middle of actual nowhere, and then, like, if I needed something, I would go to the gas station and just. I just don't like Wendover. I don't know. It's like it's like in the hierarchy of trashy cities. I mean, I still think Atlantic City is probably at the top.
Mm-hmm.
Prim, Nevada is up there.
Yep.
Wendover is up there. Vegas has so much money there that, like, a lot of the people are trashy.
Yep.
But I feel like the experience, depending on what you're doing or where you're going,
can be really good.
Can be better.
Yeah.
I would probably say Prim, Nevada, Wendover, Nevada, and Atlantic City are probably the 3 trashiest cities that at least I've been to.
So Wendover as a town only exists because it is the closest place that we can go to entice our Sin City mentalities.
Yeah.
Because it's 2 hours away from Salt Lake.
Yep.
And you can do all the things that you can't do in Utah there. Gamble.
Because it's not like they have a big gambling culture in Evanston.
No.
Or something, or just across the border in Idaho.
No, Wendover has effectively rebranded itself as a mini Vegas.
Yeah.
To cater to the needs of those that can't get their needs met in Utah.
Right. It's also just hilarious to drive through Prim, too, because, like, what, you're going to go here and not Vegas?
Yeah.
Like, why does this place exist?
It exists because at one point in time it had purpose.
I guess so.
At one point in time, when cars needed to fill up more, or God knows what,
maybe
it had a purpose.
Yeah,
it clearly doesn't anymore.
Yeah, clearly. Anyways,
I did find this. Apparently.
So this is from an article from Grand Tour Nation, so I questioned the
grain of salt.
Yeah, they're talking about a C9 generation RS6 to become hybrid as it potentially loses its engine displacement. And then the headlining photo is of a C8. So,
and it does mention the current one has the quote-unquote 48-volt hybrid system, which doesn't work in quite the same way. It just enhances the current engine.
Yeah, you don't feel any kind of intervention from the hybrid. I forgot that. So I had one, Nate Gracie's, for 3 days while my wheels were being powder-coated, and I completely forgot about the mild hybrid system until I was writing the article. I was like, oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
I don't believe there's any way you can't just run off of it. The batteries or the storage thereof is not nearly enough to do anything like that.
That's how all these 48-volt systems are. Like Mercedes has them in some of their cars. Audi.
They work similar to the new gen, the NC1 NSX, in like filling in gaps and little things like that, and transferring power.
Yeah.
They're not actually a full-on hybrid. That's why they're called a mild hybrid. But
right.
So
they're saying full details of the hybrid setup are yet to be revealed. No shit.
Duh.
But it's likely that the combustion engine will be toned down with slack being taken up by more power. Yeah, so that's
it's all speculation.
They speculate what we've already done, what Audi's already done.
Yep.
And then interpolating shit that Mercedes is doing with the C63, which they're going from a 4-liter twin turbo V8, hot turbo V8, to a 2-liter turbo with hybrid.
Well, and so here's a phrase. I've seen this quoted before, and this is kind of why I wanted to bring this up. This one right here. It's already been established, after all, that Audi will stop combustion engine development in 26.
Right.
I see that get miscommunicated a lot.
Yeah.
When they say development, they're talking about from that point forward, we're not going to be building a new engine. So that's 28, 29, there won't be new engines coming out that would have been developed in 26.
Right.
So it's still likely that we will have engines tailing off for the next 5 to 6 years.
Yeah.
And then maybe in 2030 or 31, pending everything goes good, is when there will probably be no more internal combustion engines.
Probably.
We have to see.
We'll see. I mean, knowing Audi and how long they've milked engines for.
Yep.
I mean, how long have Volkswagen and Audi been building a 2-liter turbo for? 2004.
Yeah, 2-liter turbo.
Mark 5.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they still using the Golf R and GTI and basically any MQB.
I mean, hell, it makes me chuckle. They still have a couple times now brought back the 1.8. Because
it's a different 1.8.
It is a completely different 1.8.
Because they also have a 1.4 as well.
Yep, but they keep bringing back the moniker because that meant something to them at some point.
Do you think that's really why they do that?
I think it might be a combination of happenstance and we already own the trademark for 1.8T. So yeah,
I don't know if I believe that, but
I think it's because it's no, for instance, on the all track, it's 1.8, but it doesn't have a badge anywhere. So I think it could be a weird combination of all of them.
I think that's coincidental that they just so happened to build another 1.8, but that's my own, because they wanted to just downsize the 2-liter.
Yeah,
because that's what it is.
They wanted to give a mid-level engine because 1.4 space. 1.8's mid.
Oh yeah, because 2-liters are so fast.
Depends on which 2-liter.
I suppose so.
The 2-dot slow, single overhead. Oh yeah, no, there's a reason it's called literally the 2-dot slow.
Yeah,
I actually like that engine though in a weird way. It's just here's why. Because
it's simple.
2 things. There's only 2 good points to that entire engine.
Okay.
It's not necessarily the simplicity. Simplicity is more as there's just literally nothing to go wrong with it, and it was still timing belt driven, so it's super easy to service and doesn't suffer from any of the catastrophic failures the rest of the engines did at the time.
Okay.
And it's pretty damn economical.
Well, what could they get fuel economy wise?
35 to 40
combined.
I think it's about 30 city, 40 highway. If you were to spread them out.
Okay.
So they did have good points. They were just slowest.
That would be when you're in Arkansas.
Yeah.
Where you don't have hills, because as soon as you have a hill, you know
it goes down.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I did like those only really for the serviceability of you have a timing belt that was stupid easy to replace.
Yeah.
It was, and where that was in the middle of Mark 6 gen where they were having so many timing chain issues.
There's a lot of engines that went in Mark 6 because you also had that was the tail end of the 07K.
Mm-hmm.
You have the 2-point slow, and then you have the actual, the big boy 2-liter.
Yep.
Big boy 2-liter. I'm talking shit, but my car's a 1.6, so what does it matter?
And then you also had the diesel.
Yeah. Well, that's also a 2-liter, isn't it?
Yes.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. 2-liter diesel.
Mm-hmm.
And which that was the last full generation of diesel, because then it was in just the very first 2 years of Mark 7 and then gone.
Because Dieselgate.
Mm-hmm. But yeah,
Did they also have a hybrid?
Hybrid? I don't think they had a hybrid.
For Mark 6?
I don't think
so. For Mark 6 Jetta?
I don't think so, but let's see. Because I know we had... Oh, boy. Hybrid grill. So that's the,
Just take out grill.
Yeah. 2013 Jetta hybrid, yeah. So I think that was their first experiments with it.
Yeah.
Come on, I clicked on you.
There
it goes. Okay. So it looks like it joins... Touareg hybrid was the only other hybrid at the time.
It's a 1.4.
Yeah.
Turbocharged and intercooled.
Ooh, wow. We're going back to the mid-90s when that was headline news.
Uh-huh. Yeah, dual overhead cam.
Interesting. Okay.
Oh, it had dual clutch too. Yep. Oh wait, no, just the diesel did.
Yes.
Just diesel and GLI and GTI and that stuff. So wait, but wait, it's unique that I'm on compact. Oh, interesting. So
apparently it was its own engine, is what they're saying.
But the gearbox is even unique among Jettas, as the automatic options for the other models top out at 6. So the other dual clutches were 6, but so it did have a 7-speed DSG.
It had the 7-speed, yeah.
Interesting.
So I think that might have been the first toyings with the 7-speed, because that was 2013.
And B8 as well. B8 S4 had a 7-speed.
Yeah. And I'm more thinking on the front-wheel drive platforms.
Sure.
Totally different transmission. Just happens to have the same number of gears. But then this, going into the 3rd-gen TT with the TTRS, had the 7-speed. Same with the RS3. Same with...
Yep.
So this may have been the first toyings with that. And then that was beefed up a fuck ton to go into those larger models.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
And now the GTI is on an 8-speed.
Yeah.
Dual clutch.
Wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think in this time period, like, 6 was just a weird generation, but it seems like they did have quite the range. I didn't even think about that they had so many different drive
Maybe
trains.
that's our next big film, just driving all the Mark 6s. SEO gold.
We drove every Mark 6, all our shit. I mean,
okay, how many Mark 6s can you now name or think of? You have Golf.
You have base Golf.
You have base Golf, GTI, Golf R. You have Jetta.
GLI.
Jetta Hybrid.
Jetta TDI.
Jetta TDI.
Golf TDI.
Golf TDI. There was there an e-Golf for Mark 6?
I don't know. That is a good question.
I know that they had them for Mark 7.
Don't see.
I don't think so.
I think it omitted the E. Oh, yep. Burp.
No, I think it's just Mark 7.
Yeah, 2019. Right? Yeah, 2019 to be unveiled. Yeah, so I think this would have been unveiling something that would have come out Mark 7.
That's a forum. You're like,
ooh. Exactly.
Are they gonna come out?
Yeah, so I think e-Golf was all 7.
Okay.
Which means that also...
Also, are we counting EOS?
So there's EOS.
We're getting in the weeds now.
Well, I thought of one more getting in the weeds because it technically is MQB.
TT.
Which is TT and the first Audi e-tron, the A3.
Oh.
Which is on that exact same platform.
Oh, okay.
So that we're up to 11.
Then you also have like normal. If you're doing that, then you have the normal A3.
Yep.
S3.
Yep. And we didn't have
I feel like yeah. So we're at 13 now. I'm gonna call it at like 10.
Yeah. No, I feel that. That 10 different variations of the same car.
We drove all the Mark 6s.
So what you're saying is the Germans took Henry Ford's lesson on you can have any color as long as it's black, and then just applied that to the entire car.
Yes. You can have any car you want as long as it's MQB or Mark 6.
Oh, my God. Yeah, that's funny. So much shit. And I mean, actually, you know what's funny? We can add one more to that list that is a Volkswagen. The entire CC lineup.
True. Well, how many CCs are there?
I guess there was just the one gen.
Or was that Mark 6 or was that based on a Audi platform?
I'm pretty sure that was Mark 6 because I'm pretty sure it's based off the Jetta.
Or was that Passat based?
Oh, Passat. It's the Passat CC. Yeah. So it is Passat based, which is the one size up.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I didn't know if that one fit the bill. Well, it doesn't. Omitted. Exactly. Still, that's a wild amount of like variations of drivetrains and bullshit for the same car.
Yeah.
Jesus. That's crazy. I actually don't mind those, though, the CCs. They're interesting.
And I think the design has aged well, too.
Agreed.
The second gen also looked really good.
Yes. No, completely agreed.
But considering like that was a design from what? When did that come out? Like 08 or something? Yeah.
2008. Yeah, debuted in June 2008 at the North American Auto Show, which means it probably came out in 2009 model year.
Probably.
Yeah. So production versus model years. Yep, 2009.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. That one's aged better than most of them. Most of the Mark 6 line has not aged that well.
Well, we talked about, design that is not aged well from that era, and the B8 comes to mind.
Yes. Still a lot of people that don't like that, but we both agree on it.
Yeah, you can kiss my ass.
Exactly. 8.5 looked so much better, and so far has aged quite well.
So much better.
Like, It almost looked like the B8, the original, was the weird meld of like taking B7 and being like, what's the future like? It's one of those leaps forward where they just didn't hit the mark.
Not quite, yeah. They were forward thinking, but not quite getting there.
Yep.
Yeah.
I much prefer the B7 to the B8, regular B8.
Design wise. Outside, I agree.
Yeah. Inside,
they're close on the inside. There's now a B7 wagon that is in my building.
Okay.
They like park like directly behind me, so whenever I back up, I have to like turn and like avoid it. But black B7 wagon with 20 spokes.
Nice.
I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not too shabby.
I think it's a 2-liter probably.
It probably is. It's either that or a 2.8 or a 3.2.
You know what would be a fun build? And I'm going off into the weeds here, but if you did like, okay, so if you got a B7 wagon, B7 Avant, and took it to IROS, and did that, and then also put on like the RS4 front clip, and like made it like body wise like look like an RS4 wagon, but had some crazy like 800 horsepower plus like 5-cylinder.
I actually just had a funny thought. So speaking of Audi Volkswagen carrying on engines for so long, how long they carried on the original 5-cylinder from the early 80s all the way through 96, I just had a funny thought. There's only been 3 cars that have ever had a 5-cylinder RS, which is the RS2, the TTRS, technically first and second gens, and the RS3.
Which is basically the same car as the TTRS.
So 4 if you count both gens of the TT.
Yeah.
But that's it. Most of the other RS lineups have had
V8s
plethoras of different types of engines. So that would be interesting. Like,
wait, has there been I guess in the new RS5 it's a V6 now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a V6 now. It's the 2.9. 2.9. The new derivative of the old 3.0T.
Well, no, it's not, because it's turbo.
They still call it 3.0T.
What do you mean?
That's what their name of the engine is, even though it's supercharged, is 3.0T.
I know, but the new RS5, the current B9 RS5 is turbocharged.
Oh, well, yeah, they switched to that. So 2.9T is the new one.
Yeah.
It's just the block is effectively the same. It's tons of changes, throw it away. It's just the new variation of their V6 forced induction lineups.
Gotcha.
But basically making the car you just described would be effectively making I'm going to call it like an homage RS4. You're basically combining what came with an RS4, the smaller platform, the wagon, and then putting in a built 5-cylinder from IROS.
But I guess, was there an RS4 for UR?
Nope.
I was going to say, or for like the C4?
Nope. RS2 was the first one, and that was...
I'm not talking about the first, though, but like your era of URS6, because there was a URS4.
Yes, that was 92, 93.
And what did that have?
That had the 5-cylinder.
That's what I'm saying.
But it's not an RS. So when we say URS, that...
well, I said UR, but...
Yeah, that's just a prefix. The actual name is just the S4.
I know.
Yeah. So, yeah, it would be an interesting meld of like creating a kind of a homage RS4 using the older tech, well, quote
it's
unquote.
Kind of a Franken homage, because like that product never actually existed.
Not at all. But that's what makes it cool to me is you're now taking like all the cool bits.
Yeah.
The RS, the good chassis. The B7 is a good chassis for what it was, and putting in the stuff from
the chassis itself. Everything else
questionable.
Yeah.
Putting in the good stuff from the RS4, like what would be great for that car is like not 1,000 plus, but like it's 700 horsepower.
Oh yeah, just a modest 700 horsepower.
In IROS terms, that is modest.
Yeah, it's not 2,200 or whatever is in what's in. Is that what the R8 I think is pushing out?
Something
is
like
his 7-second R8.
Yep. Fucking ridiculous. But put that in that car. So like we'll call it a high-end streetable at like 700. Now the question is, would you keep the manual, the 6-speed?
With this Franken build, I mean, because I would really just want to hoon in it and just be just kind of a dipshit. So probably. But it would be interesting if there were any daily ability inclinations for the car.
Yeah.
Then I'm sure he would have a dual clutch to handle that.
Probably. There's a way to convert it because using the 5-cylinder blocks that he does, those mate to the older transmissions like the one in my Audi. And those are much more robust feeling than the newer ones. They're a lot more notchy. They, like the RS4 transmission was okay. It wasn't amazing, but wasn't quite as nice as some of the other ones we've driven.
I mean, I think for a sports sedan that isn't an E39, I think it's actually great.
Yeah.
And also the one that we drove was original
at 110,000 miles.
Yeah. So take that with a grain of salt too.
Yeah. So if they did the 6-speed that would have made it to like my car, for instance, it be a little more reliable and be a little more buildable too. Because I think that there would have to be an adapter plate to make like the factory RS4 transmission to that 5-cylinder, because they are like completely different architectures.
Yeah. Well, and also what I was talking about with this Franken build is take just a B7 just wagon. Because we didn't get the RS4 wagon.
Yeah.
So just take just a normal-ass B7 and just make a Franken monster. Fuck it. Delete the front axle even. Just make it rear-wheel drive, 800 horsepower, IROS built 5-cylinder.
Drifter machine type of deal.
Yeah, kind of. It would basically be a German CTSV.
Yeah.
Wagon.
True. That would be fucking wild.
Yeah.
I would love that. But I do have a note on CTSVs, though. This is kind of random, but it's an interesting little story that I told you about.
I know what you're doing. Yeah, okay.
I'll kind of try to be quick about it. We have a friend.
Don't be fucking stupid.
Yeah.
It's basically the moral of this message.
Yeah. So we have a friend of a friend that has a CTSV 2nd gen that he's owned.
1st gen.
Oh, I thought his was 2nd. Okay.
No.
So 1st gen CTSV that he bought a while back, had about 240,000 miles. He got a good deal on it. It's like rough physical condition, but it was mechanically good. It was just basically the dude's daily for years that he bought it from. He owned it for a couple of years and quote unquote sold it to a friend on payments.
Also, when you say mechanically sound, only kind of.
It was until he started fucking with it.
Yeah, and he made it not.
Yes.
It reeked of fluid, of gas all the fucking time. It was kind of there are a group of our friends that enjoy mid 90s to mid 2000 shit boxes,
and he's one of them.
Yeah.
And so he tinkered around with it quite a bit, and he ended up selling it to kind of a friend of a friend ordeal on payments as a helping out thing.
Red flag
number one. That individual ended up paid for the first several months just fine. After that, it started to become hard. He had to fight to get payments on them. And then for the past 6 months, the payee just completely disappeared off the radar. Was not paying, not returning phone calls, texts, etc., etc. So he ended up having to hire a repo company once he found out the location of the car to go get it, because he tried to get it himself and it almost didn't turn out very good. But got the car back, found out it had been wrecked, it had been spray painted, it had been all sorts of shit.
That's fucking sad.
Yep, and the only saving grace is that fortunately he didn't sign over a title.
Good. I mean
that's good. He had the sensibilities to do that and have a brief written agreement on what was supposed to happen. Yep. But he's stuck with a car that's now a what would have been maybe a $7,000 to $8,000 ish car.
Yeah.
That is now a paperweight. Fortunately, he owned it outright as well. He wasn't trying to sell it, have it on payments.
He wasn't upside down in a payment or anything.
Exactly. Yeah. But it was insured under his insurance, but the other dude wrecked it. So it's there's no way to fight that. I couldn't, if I tried to claim an insurance claim on it, it would just total the car out, and or they wouldn't even do anything because it wasn't me. Plus, the individual, if I go after him and sue him, he's got no fucking money.
What are you going to do?
Exactly. So he's just kind of stuck in a rut.
You can't bankrupt somebody with no money.
Exactly.
Or no assets.
Yeah, you can't get anything out of that. So he's stuck trying to figure this thing out. And I hate that shit like that happens, because then it makes so many people question so many other notably good decisions.
Yeah, making payments on things can go over well if both people have integrity. I did that, and I'm not so proud to admit this, but I did that with a watch.
Yeah.
My Bulova Computron, which is, for those that don't know, it's this gold digital Bulova. They called it the driving watch back in the day.
Yeah.
It had the display wasn't on top, but it was on the side, so you could see it when you're driving or whatever. Really rad watch. I had basically no money at the time.
Yeah.
But a friend of mine was selling it. And I was like, okay, I don't know when I'm going to get this opportunity again because this thing's like from 1976.
Yeah.
Like, and it was in like fairly decent condition. The LCD screen worked perfectly. Like, it was fine. I was like, okay, will you take payment? It's a $300 watch. And like, will you take payments of like $100? Because I spaced it so it was like, okay, it's just for 3 months and then it's mine.
Yeah.
And I did everything in my power to make that work because I would like to think of myself at least as not a complete shithead.
Yeah.
I don't recommend people do that. It was kind of something of like me stretching myself and me kind of treating myself, and I was growing my watch collection.
Yeah.
This is when I was buying like a watch a month.
Jesus.
I mean, they were all cheap watches, but it was like, oh, Gavin bought another watch. Oh,
we've all been there with certain things.
Yeah, we have. Oh God, I need to tell you about my buddy Josh.
Okay.
Later,
Yeah.
But anyways, so I don't know where exactly I was going with this, but like, or like video as well. I've had people pay me in payments through video, and that's always been a pain in the ass. And that like immediately makes me put that shit on the back burner, straight up.
Yeah, and I've even made payments. I've done both ends of the spectrum. I have, like, for instance, on some of my larger purchases, like my VR headset, that's a $1,000 headset. I made payments on that with a friend.
To the individual?
To the individual.
Okay. Because we are individuals. We are not banks.
Exactly.
Which is why you really ought not to do that. You have to be on your A game. Like, if you're stretching yourself at all, you have to be really on top of it in order to actually make payments.
And that's the difficult thing. It becomes a necessary evil at certain points, even if it is just a hobby thing like my headset or like your watch. But... yeah. You know, it sucks when something like this happens.
But also, how much was your headset?
$1,000.
Okay, my watch is $300, so these are like $1,000 and under.
Yep.
We're not talking about an $8,000 item, which is a car.
You know, and I don't know what the payment he was supposed to be receiving was. I'm assuming it'd be somewhere like $300 to $400 a month or something like that, at least.
Sure.
But you know, that's a much larger asset. Fortunately, an asset that has a title, like at least there's some leeway with that. You can prove ownership. You can do a lot of stuff that we wouldn't be able to do.
The friend of ours should have done is, I'll take payment, but I'm keeping the car until you pay me in full. Is really what he should have done.
Funny enough, I just thought of another terrible situation. The whole reason I got this house in the first place that I currently reside in was because of a friend situation, helping out somebody that needed a leg up. And after 3 months, the dude changed the locks, locked the previous owner that I bought it from out of the house, and destroyed the place. And that's the whole reason I ended up here. I didn't even realize how many times I've like seen little things like this happen. And it sucks because you want to believe people have integrity. You want to believe that people would make payments like you or I have and be free and clear, perfectly fine.
Yeah. You got to be real careful about who you do that to.
Yeah. Because similar to like living with friends, if making payments with friends, if you haven't done that before, they may seem like a good person. But
or even if you know them and you've known them for years, but you've only like hung out in like short instances and you haven't like lived with them, like that all can change like that.
Yep. In a heartbeat. Yeah. So TLDR, be careful, friends.
Be careful. And just honestly, just don't do it. Just don't sell your shit in payments.
No, not at all. Be good. So anyways,
we've been going for a while.
Quite a while.
Also, shout out to RS5 owner Patrick, who apparently listens to the podcast.
Yes.
Thanks, Patrick. Glad to have you with us. We need to go get dinner soon or something.
Oh, yeah.
It's been too long. Or go for a drive. Or do both.
There you go.
You should go in your Audi. I'll take I'll take his Audi. And then he'll take his 4Runner.
Well, he has a C4. He has a C4 vet.
Patrick? When did that happen?
About 6 months ago, I think.
The fuck?
Yeah.
Prove it.
I can't prove it. I don't have a picture of it, but I've seen it twice because I've been to his house twice, like cleaning his 4Runner, and it's there. Yeah.
The fuck?
Yeah. He loves it.
What?
Yeah.
He hasn't talked to me about that shit. Okay.
Well, it hasn't seen the light of day much because he bought it in great condition, but needing stuff to get running better. It's good physical condition, but
interesting.
Needs some upfit.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's an interesting move for him because that's and it's a normal C4. It's not like a ZR1 or anything.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I know.
Huh. I have some questions now. Well, anyways, I guess as an update, I actually found some older. Well, no one from Integrated Engineering is going to be listening to this, and if they are, well,
These are
eat a dick. This was 5 years ago. I made this content for you.
Yeah.
You're not using it anyway, and you haven't used it in 5 years. So I found some older Mark 7 content, and I talked about the Mark 7 when reviewing my Fiesta ST. So I threw that in our video.
Hell yeah.
And if they do come knocking, then I guess we'll have some conversations.
Okay.
But yeah, so that video actually just got redone. I made a couple of changes, and so that's still Fiesta ST videos going up live April 12th. But leading the weekly content is going to be your Saab 900 Turbo SPG.
Mm-hmm.
That's a week before, so that's the 5th, April 5th.
Yep.
And then we have a C8 Corvette that I drove last year. Going to be the third video, and then we have we have my 2 Porsches that I drove.
Yep.
And then there's actually another proposition that it hasn't been established, but I'm going to talk to you about it off air.
Okay.
That actually might fill in the position of what was going to be the R53 Mini.
Nice. Okay.
So stick around if you're listening to this. Tune into our YouTube starting the first Wednesday of April, and every Wednesday we're going to have a new video on our YouTube channel, which is going to be very exciting.
Yes.
So until next time, I guess I've been Gavin.
And I've been Justin.
And this has been the Exhibition of Speed Podcast.